Okay, and I think with that, we will jump right into it. So good morning and afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the beginning of our 5-day virtual conference, Donor Experience Week. My name is Samantha Lego, I'm Keela's Marketing Director. We have Vanessa in the background fielding all of your technical questions, so feel free to say hi. I just want to start by acknowledging that here in Vancouver, we are on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples, so the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations, and give thanks for their generosity and hospitality on these lands and waters. Now, I know there are many of you who attended last year's Donor Experience Week, but for some, this is brand new. Regardless, welcome back. We are very excited to be able to facilitate 10 sessions and 5 lunch and learns over the next 5 days. Obviously, this wouldn't be possible without the help of all of our amazing speakers who have agreed to volunteer their time, as well as to our sponsors, Imagine Canada, Pano, and the Good Partnership. Thank you. Reminder, all of these sessions will be recorded and you will receive both the slide decks and the recordings after the conference. Lastly, I want to mention that Keela's main focus since COVID-19 has been on education and empowering nonprofits through this new normal. So events like Donor Experience Week, we also have something that we are launching called Keela U, which is a free crash course dedicated to small and medium nonprofits looking to grow their fundraising skills, be more analytical, and become more agile in this digital age. You can sign up for the first chapter of Keela U, set to be released on October 1st by following the link, which I believe Ines is going to be popping into the chat now. So we are very lucky to have our speaker with us today. Maureen is a nonprofit digital strategist who has worked with hundreds of organizations across every mission and vertical. She has developed a proven process that maps your nonprofit strategic and operational goals to the right platforms and business processes, helping you make better decisions. Today, she is speaking on the power of peer-to-peer in 2020, complete with practical examples of ways to engage your P2P fundraisers, draw them more deeply into your organizations, and help them raise more money. The best part, everything she'll speak about are things that you can start doing tomorrow. We encourage you to ask questions in the Q&A or chat box throughout the presentation, and then we'll get to them at the end. We also invite you to take the conversation a step further in our Donor Experience Week Community Forum, which is our virtual attempt at networking in the lunch line between our sessions. So connect with your peers, discuss what you've learned, and provide your insights and feedback by following the link that Ines has also just popped into the chat. And with all of that out of the way, I would like to give a very warm and special welcome to Maureen, who will be kicking things off for us this morning.
How wonderful. Samantha, thank you so much, and welcome to everybody who is here and is hopping on in this early morning or beginning of the afternoon, depending on where you are. I was so excited when Samantha reached out to me and asked me to put a session together, because I think that the information about donor experiences or fundraiser experiences is exactly where nonprofit teams need to be spending their time these days as everything continues to change around us. So let me share my screen. And let's get started. I love talking about this topic because it's a great intersection of strategy and technology and humans, because you need all of these things to make your virtual peer-to-peer fundraisers feel welcomed, encouraged, and raising more money for you. So this is what we're going to talk about for the next little less than an hour, with plenty of time for open Q&A at the end. Yes, you can build a strong relationship with your virtual event fundraisers. This is me. Samantha gave a great little intro just a second ago, but I've been spending all of my career really helping nonprofit teams make the most out of the systems that they use to raise money and engage their supporters, and make good decisions about their technology and how data moves around. I live in Massachusetts, out on beautiful Cape Cod, and essentially the message I want you to take away from all of this today is that it is possible to use technology to provide a nice high-touch experience to the people who are fundraising on your behalf. It takes a little shift in your mental model and some real ability to be innovative and have a frame of experimentation. So let's dive right in. Our agenda today, peer-to-peer fundraiser stewardship is challenging. We're going to talk about why that is. We are going to spend some time talking about the magic of appreciation and recognition for those fundraisers who are raising money on your behalf on Facebook, on a platform that you own, on CrowdRise. It's happening all over the place, and we often don't know that it's happening. We're going to spend some time talking about tools and tactics that you can start to play with. And then again, that open Q&A. You guys, peer-to-peer fundraiser stewardship is challenging. We are not really used to paying attention to the fundraisers. Our fundraising brain goes right to the donor, first, second, and third. And so in order for us to really take this journey together today, I want to stop and back up and just talk about some fundamentals. What is stewardship really? When I say you can steward your peer-to-peer fundraisers, what am I really talking about? In some ways, it's very much like what we've done with our actual financial donors for years. It's the responsibility of overseeing and protecting something worth preserving, right? Somebody starting a birthday fundraiser for my organization on Facebook, I want to preserve that relationship and strengthen it. It is progressively building those strong, healthy relationships over time. As I said, it's traditionally focused on those donors after a gift has been received. And it usually shows those donors in lots of different ways that the organization they've given their money to is appreciative, has used it wisely, and confirms an impact. That's stewardship in a nutshell. And the goal of donor stewardship, first-time donors, monthly supporters, major donor prospects, is always, always to get the supporter to give more money to you again, right? That's what we're trying to do with our coffees and our handwritten notes and our autoresponders and our invitations and our asks. We want to get them to support us financially again. But it's different when you're talking about goals for your peer-to-peer fundraisers. It's not really to get them to give. It's to get them to fundraise for you again. Maybe to convert them into a subscriber, somebody who's on your email list. But this is where we get tripped up, because I'm not going to try to convert Samantha, who started a birthday fundraiser for me. I'm not going to try to turn her into a donor. I'm going to try to give her the tools and the tactics and the enthusiasm and encouragement to actually start another fundraising campaign for me. This is an image that I like to show in this particular workshop, and it talks about how things have changed, right? So way back in the day, it was all physical events. It was road races and 5Ks and relays and Ironman marathons, right? Elite athletic events. That's way over on the left-hand side of this image. Traditional runs, walks, and rides with some endurance. As you start to move more toward the middle of this image, you can see giving days and virtual events. So a day that is meaningful for your organization, you decide you're going to run a challenge or something, and you're going to get alumni. Let's say if you're an education organization, you're going to get alumni to actually fundraise on your behalf on this one day or over this week. Then, probably around 2009, 2010, we started to see these more individual-driven peer-to-peer campaigns, do-it-yourself memorials, third-party events, tributes, corporate fundraising, teams against teams within one business. More over to the right, live streaming showed up a couple of years ago, and project-based fundraising. And then over on the very right-hand side is where we are all living, whether we want to be or not. It's all donors' choice and the relationships that those fundraisers have with their supporters, and they're asking on our behalf. So if you've had a gala scheduled anytime within the past 6 months, you have either postponed it, canceled it, or converted it into some type of fundraising event that's very different than the gala that you've always put on. So we know what stewardship is, and we know kind of this trajectory, this history of peer-to-peer fundraising. Now let's go a little deep into what virtual peer-to-peer fundraising is. It's a great way to get people to support your mission in the way they want to. It's got to be convenient, easy, fun. I got to be able to do it when I'm thinking about it. If I'm hanging out at night over the weekend on the couch, surfing around on my phone, I should be able to fundraise for you doing that. It's also a chance to leverage your existing community. And I know you have all spent and continue to spend lots of time, money, brain power, person power on building up your social media following, building up your email list, maybe building up your LinkedIn pages or YouTube. So this is a good way for you to give those people something to do. It's an opportunity to raise small funds for specific asks. I'm going to ask Samantha to give to my local animal organization, and she's going to give because I asked her. And Samantha's not going to give $5,000 either. She's going to give a little bit because a friend asked her to do that. It does help you find and cultivate new relationships, however. So that's how new peer-to-peer fundraisers sort of show up, is they get brought in by a friend, they've given, they start their own campaign for you. But virtual peer-to-peer fundraising isn't good for everything. There's some things it's really bad at. So it's important to be clear internally around your goals here. It's not a good way to acquire new donors. If Samantha gives to my personal fundraising campaign, it is going to take you a ton of time and effort to try to convert her into becoming a donor who gives directly to you. Certainly can happen, but many organizations have tried lots of tactics to convert Samanthas into actual donors. Doesn't always produce. It is not a way to grow your sustainer program or your monthly donor program. You're going to get one-time gifts from these folks. Even if you offer it, it's generally a one-time shot. And it's not a good method to grow your email list. You are not likely, unless you own the platform, and we'll spend a minute on that coming up, it's not a great method to gather new names and turn them into subscribers. Why, Maureen? Why on earth are you talking about this? If there are these rules, like I can't get the donor data, I often can't get the fundraiser data, and it seems very frustrating and completely out of my control. Here's why. And these are old stats. This is probably from the spring of this year. So $3 billion have been raised on Facebook for nonprofits so far. And I would bet you since the pandemic began in the spring, it's probably double. I'm guessing, but I'm imagining it's at least 4 or 5 billion at this point. Facebook fundraisers, as an example, raise double what your donation form is going to raise. So if you've got a peer-to-peer tool, Facebook fundraisers actually bring in double usually. We'll talk about why. Conversion rates on Facebook fundraising forms or birthday donation forms are 13% higher than a very good nonprofit donation form. And this is the clincher though, 88% of people who give on Facebook say they're gonna do it again. Now you may, or your organization may have very strong feelings about Facebook, for example, as a business partner. And you're gonna draw the line where it makes sense for you. But if you're not bothered by having a little bit of a business relationship with Facebook to facilitate giving to your organization, then you need to remember who's on Facebook. It's not the kids, it's not the millennials, it's professional adults. And that extends way out in age. You know, there's lots of 70 and 80-year-old pluses who are on Facebook. It's how they're staying in touch with their communities. It's how they're staying in touch with their adult kids. Going virtual with your peer-to-peer program, you've got a couple of ways that you can do it. One is this, everybody's doing it at the same time. The organization, really control it. I'm going to set up a giving day. I'm going to run a virtual challenge. It's my platform. I can collect all of that delicious data and do something with it. And often, peer-to-peer fundraisers are just doing their own thing when it makes sense to them. My birthday's coming up. I'm going to start a birthday fundraiser for an organization that I support, and things that are happening in response to life events, in honor or in tribute. The platform that you use, the tools that you allow people to use to fundraise on your behalf control what you can do and the data that you get. So let's start on the happy left-hand column, which is you own the platform. You're using something like Keela that has peer-to-peer fundraising functionality in it. You're going to control the type, the registration process. You can collect people's contact information on registration. You control the period of the fundraising. It's going to run for 8 weeks and it's going to start November 1st. It's going to end on New Year's Day. You get data about the fundraiser and the donor. Oh, happy day. This is what we're used to. And on the right-hand column is really where a lot of us are living these days. We don't own the platform. We have no control over why somebody fundraises or when. Can't customize the sign-up process. They just fill out their information. They're off and running. I'm not really collecting their contact information. They can fundraise whenever they want. They can start, they can stop. Very limited data about fundraisers that usually you have to go get, and very limited data about donors. And this is an argument that I hear people have internally all the time when we're doing strategic technology planning meetings. There's the legacy fundraisers who are saying, I can't get the data. It is a huge waste of my time because I can't convert those people. To which I say, like our little cat on the right, stop complaining about what you can't get and use what you can get. So it is time to drop that bag. You're never going to do a bang-up job of virtual peer-to-peer fundraising if you continue to put people in the old fundraising mentality or mindset, or actually programs. So here's a little bit of real talk. Donors were never the point for peer-to-peer fundraisers. We were all gathered around, our energy was all focused on a physical event, teams, that was it. Team captains were the biggies. Fundraisers were called participants because they were participating in a physical event of some kind where everybody was showing up to the same place at the same time and doing the same thing. It's always been a challenge, as I said, to convert peer-to-peer donors into true donors. So we really just wanted peer-to-peer fundraisers and team captains to raise a lot of money. Maybe they'll register next year, but it was kind of a one and done situation. 2020, we got to change our frame. Time to shift your mindset just a little bit. It's not a radical shift. It's just like a little over by 5 or 10 degrees from what you have been doing your entire fundraising professional career. It means managing your peer-to-peer programs in a very different way than you've managed your legacy fundraising programs. And it's hard to do that. It's hard to do something different. It's hard to maintain a learning stance. So when you're thinking about doing this, or if you've got folks already doing virtual peer-to-peer and you want to add some oomph in, I'm going to encourage you to gather your team together and answer these 4 questions. Have a dialogue or a discussion and land somewhere. Make some agreements around how are we going to move ahead with an experimental frame. I don't know how much money we're going to bring in. Who's going to own this inside our organization? Is it the development team or the fundraising team? Is it your social media people or your marketing and communication folks? You need to make some decisions about ownership and roles and responsibilities to get any traction here. You want to ask yourselves, what data can we get and how are we going to use it? Nonprofits everywhere love to suck in a lot of data and then they never use it. It's not a dirty little secret, but it sort of is, that we hoard a lot of data. We're not really great about using it often. So let that go. What can we get and how can we use it? And ask yourselves this final question. After somebody's done fundraising for us, my birthday fundraiser is done for you and your organization and your goals, is it better to try to convert me into a subscriber and eventually a donor if I'm not already, or is it better for you to continue to encourage me to do more fundraising for you? Might be different depending on your team and your goals. Okay, this is my favorite concept, micro appreciation. This is how you're going to build that relationship with your peer-to-peer fundraisers. Remember, they're really only going to be riding along with you as long as their campaign is live. So usually it's just a couple weeks, maybe a month. If you've got a virtual challenge running, maybe it's just a week. But there are things that you can do to provide a nice sense that someone from your organization is paying attention to what people are doing on your behalf and that you're encouraging it and supporting it. So micro appreciation, what the heck is that, Maureen? It is showing recognition and gratitude when someone starts a fundraiser. Step one, someone starts a fundraiser. I acknowledge it, I thank them, and I welcome them or cheer them on. In the middle of the fundraiser, I have a second touch. Let's use a Facebook birthday fundraiser as an example. 2-week life cycle for that type of event. So somebody starts their fundraiser. Hey, Maureen, good on you. Thanks so much. Raise that money for us and happy birthday. In the middle, right as you hit from week 1 to week 2, Maureen, you've already raised $75. You're so close to your $100 goal. Thank you so much. Let us know if you've got questions. And then when that fundraiser wraps up, thanking them again. We all want to be seen. And if people are raising money for you and you are not paying attention to them because it's not my core program, you're missing a really big opportunity. That is my experience and my opinion. Micro appreciation is personal. It's like a human person talking to another human person. It needs to be a one-to-one effort. Technology, thankfully, can be a pain, but it makes it much easier for you to provide honest, genuine touches throughout the course of someone's peer-to-peer campaign. And you can use multiple channels to do this using the data that you do have. So, sounds great, Maureen, right? End of year would be a great time for us to start a virtual challenge, whatever you're thinking right now. You need a plan. Just attending this session is going to give you some great ideas, but it is not a plan. It's literally like some advice and some guidance. So if you're going to do this, or if you've got some, beginnings of some volume happening in virtual peer-to-peer, you need to sit down with your team and make a stewardship plan. And again, ask yourselves these questions. If we do this, if we throw a little bit of energy at this, what is it going to look like for us to be successful if we're engaging those fundraisers effectively? How are we going to know that we're accomplishing our goals with the help of, our technology, web content, email messages, and social media? What are we going to see trend-wise? Then, what quantitative metrics can we create to measure these efforts? So quantitative is hard facts. It's not my gut. I love living in my gut. That's the final piece of advice here. But what are the three metrics? The average amount raised, the number of birthday fundraisers that happen in a quarter or in a month or in a year, maybe the number of repeat peer-to-peer fundraisers, people who've done this more than once for you. Those might be your quantitative metrics. And then the qualitative, that's the feeling, right? The stories. What can we create to measure our efforts that are subjective? Like, boy, I had a coffee with someone who's a major donor prospect, and they told me that they heard about us because a friend of theirs raised money on Facebook for our organization, and they love our mission. All those stories and anecdotes that we love to listen for and collect, you can use them to make your plan. So your plan is about strategy right now. What do we expect to see? How are we going to know that we're moving the needle in the right direction? So let's talk about data, because so much that you can do hinges on what you've got versus what you don't have. So let's focus on the happy. If you do have the fundraisers data, here's 6 things that you can do right away. Special email, welcoming them to your peer-to-peer program. Samantha, thank you so much for becoming a champion of my organization, because that's what we call our peer-to-peer fundraisers. Acknowledge why they're fundraising for you if you've been able to collect that information, at the registration. Offer them tips and tools to help them meet their goal. Learn more about them by sending a quick 3-question survey. SurveyMonkey, MailChimp, Constant Contact, Keela, many of these products have survey tools in them. 3 questions. You know, what's your relationship to our mission? If you're an animal organization, are you a cat person or a dog person? And what's your favorite color? You know, you can use anything like that to have people feel recognized and appreciated. Evaluate their relationship with your organization, right? Once a month, grab anybody who has started a peer-to-peer fundraiser and you've got that information and check them out in your CRM or database. It's a great little monthly snapshot to run. Net new versus we already have them. They're subscribers, they've already given. Segment your peer-to-peer only fundraisers and send a special newsletter to them, right? 3 times a year. You're going to send some fun thing out to people who have been peer-to-peer fundraisers for you. Sure, maybe they get your newsletter and other things that you send out, but this is creating that community of people who fundraise for you. And then please, if you do nothing else, remind them to start another birthday fundraiser for you next year. You can collect the date that they started that fundraiser. And a month before, a day before, whatever, you can send out a little reminder to me to say, Maureen, you raised $500 for us last year. We hope you're going to start a new fundraiser for us for your birthday this year. Now, if you don't have the fundraisers data, let's imagine that it's literally all social media, all Facebook fundraising. You don't have a platform or the functionality to let people do that in a way that you control. You could still do 6 things. You can send them that personal note. If it's on Facebook, I'm going to pop a little hello message with an image on their timeline or on their birthday fundraiser post. I'm going to make a comment. I'm going to offer them tips and tools to help them meet their goal. I'm going to cheer them on with a couple personal notes during the campaign. Offer to send them a small token of appreciation in the mail. So this is something that came to me from a colleague, Nick Byrne. He runs and owns a company that provides something called Give Panel, which is this cool data and messaging thing that connects to your Facebook account. And they did some experiments where they asked birthday fundraisers at the end of their campaign, hey, we would like to send you a small token of appreciation. And I'm talking small, a sticker, a magnet, a pen, something. I know you all have little swag kicking around that would be very easy to send to somebody. So Maureen, we'd like to send you a token of appreciation. Would you give us your contact information so that we can mail that out to you? Now I've got that information. See how you can do that? And they found that lots of people, I want to say over 80% of fundraisers said, yep, here's my address, here's my email address. I want that little gifty, even though it was just a little token. You might, if you've got a lot of people fundraising for you on social media, start a Facebook group just for your peer-to-peer fundraisers. Invite new birthday fundraisers in. That might be where your kits of, social media posts and images and things might live for people to grab so that they can raise more money. And again, remind them to do it next year. Here's my caveat though, your mileage is going to vary. You have to test your tactics. What works really great for my organization might be terrible for Samantha's organization. So proceed carefully and go slow, be smart. That experimental, let's see what happens mindset. I'm not going to set a dollar goal, or if I do, it's going to be really soft and private. Don't get discouraged if you don't see an immediate payoff. These kinds of campaigns take a while to produce real dollars often. So give yourself 6 months before you decide it's working, it's not working. And it's the best time ever to be fun and creative and casual with your tactics, with your assets, with your messaging. Even if your organization is pretty formal, maybe a little buttoned up, not on social media, so you can loosen it up. It needs to be fun and engaging and funny. Let's talk about some tools and tips now. Video. Here we are. I'm on video all day, every day. I bet you feel the same way. Video contact wins every time. With text messages, a close second. So let's look at some tools here that I've got. Constant Contact has the ability for you to create and send videos through Constant Contact. So look, you know these are two staff people, right? Hilarious. It is a 1-minute video. You've got two staff people doing something not professional, fun, and silly maybe, and they are thanking a peer-to-peer fundraiser for starting a campaign. You can do that. Thank View is the one immediately below on the left-hand side. It's an application that allows you to create and send thank you messages via email. Here's an example from Georgetown University. You can see how cute this is, that, you know, the video is recorded. You get the email message as the peer-to-peer fundraiser if you've got the data. And I open it and look, the little video comes out of the envelope and it's a very short, cute thank you message. Think about using some of this stuff for just your straight up donors too. In the middle is BombBomb. It's one of these really great little apps, really inexpensive for people to quickly create a video and share it on social media. So you can see here's literally this video is 33 seconds long. And the peer-to-peer fundraising steward literally on a whiteboard wrote the person's name. Hey, Samantha, press play. Who's not gonna open that thing and play it? You know you're gonna, and your participants will too. Then way over on the right-hand side is an application called Gather Voices. They are a platform that was designed specifically to capture and share video, especially on social media, but also on your website or through email. For example, Make-A-Wish uses Gather Voices to collect videos from people who are fulfilling a kid's wish, right? And from the kids when their wishes are being fulfilled. So I would check them out. If you want to have a little misty moment, if you're emotional, go watch some of those Gather Voices videos because they're very impactful. If you've got their email address, you can mark certain milestones in their peer-to-peer fundraising life cycle. So here's some examples from Classy, going left to right. Matt, congratulations, Matt, you're halfway to your fundraising goal. And these are little images. I know they made them on Canva, right? It's like a little simple, boop, congratulations, first name, you're halfway to your goal. Don't forget to thank people and share your progress. Post an update. I don't want to get them to give. I don't want to make them do anything other than go update their page, because when they do that, they're going to get more gifts. That's strategy in action. In the middle, timeline, right? Only 1 week left to hit our peer-to-peer fundraising campaign goal. We appreciate your help. We're going to ask that you share again because we're almost to the goal. And thank you for being part of this amazing campaign. So a multi-purpose, quick, right? There's like 6 sentences on that email message. And then over on the right-hand side, you've hit your goal. Again, really reinforcing the fact that someone at the organization is paying attention to Matt and what Matt's doing. And that's what Matt wants. That's what we all want. That's stewardship, right? Recognizing and appreciating what somebody is doing. Texts are opened usually within 2 minutes of being received more than 90% of the time. So I know we all have very strong feelings about texting our supporters or texting participants. Nobody wants another notification on their device. I certainly don't. However, you get the eyeballs on it, and so that's important. If you've got their cell phone number, there are applications you can use to actually text people. So on the left-hand side is QGive. It's a little thanks for registration text. They obviously collected the cell number when someone registered. Hey, thanks for registering. Now recruit your team. And here's a little discount code. If they register with this code, they'll get $5 off. It's a little bit of a physical event example, certainly can be used if you've got a fundraising minimum or you're actually charging people to use your tools. In the middle, we've got mobile cause. You can see that someone has texted the word mission to this number and then an auto message that's already written. A human isn't sitting there waiting for that text to come in to reply. It's all bots. So it's a good way of using technology to actually make it appear that you've got a human person who is replying here. And then over on the very right-hand side, give lively. If you're not collecting your supporters' cell phone numbers or fundraiser cell phone numbers, start now. Even if it feels like it's going to be 5 years before your organization is ready to communicate by text, start to collect that data. That way, when you're ready, you'll have it. You won't need to begin collecting it. And then social media communication tools. Like with videos and texting applications, there's a zillion of them. Left to right give panel, I mentioned them before. It's an application that literally connects to Facebook and pulls out things like the birthday fundraiser's name and their amount that they have raised. And you can actually use this tool and some of these other ones to create little stewardship plans for people, depending on how they're fundraising and how they're doing, can automatically push back posts and messages into Facebook to keep somebody moving along, raising more money, staying engaged. ManyChat is another bot. It sends direct messages, chats, through Facebook and other social media tools. And the thing about these bots are they're smart and they get smarter. So you can set it up with a little bit of when someone types, I'm stuck, or I need an image, here's ManyChat bot, what I want you to do when you get a message like that. But they learn over time and they get smarter on their own. So a little bit of that cool and creepy, but it's a good application for it. And then over on the far right-hand side is Kenji. This is another social media tool that can actually send messages to people through different social media channels without a human needing to do that. Let's look at some effective social media posts. And I know you can do this. I don't care if you've got one person in your fundraising team. You can get this stuff done. Maybe you need 2 people, let's be honest. But this is not a heavy lift. It's just planning out in advance and pushing it out when people do things. So let's look at these, all Facebook related. So Humane Rescue Alliance in the top left-hand side, a thank you to Mark for raising money, a little message about impact. You help us care for the 60,000 animals we touch every year, and happy birthday. Below that is National Marrow Donor Program, Be the Match. If you want to see organizations doing it right with Facebook fundraising, go over to Be the Match and check out their stuff. When someone starts a birthday fundraiser, an automatic post shows up on that fundraiser's birthday campaign that reinforces Amy, first name, right? Everyone who needs a blood stem cell transplant should get one. Here's the impact that your fundraising is going to have on our organization. Click this link to go get started. That's where they've got example social media posts, little videos, ideas, images for the fundraisers to grab and use. In the middle, we've got breast cancer care, a birthday message. When it's birthday day for a personal fundraiser on Facebook, this post shows up. Happy birthday, Paulette. Thank you for setting up a fundraiser. Again, here's how your fundraising or your donation is going to help. And we appreciate you and we wish you the best of luck. And you know they made that on Canva. That's like a picture from a physical event with a little gradient, transparent image underneath it with some text. 20 minutes. Then over on the right-hand side is congratulations on hitting your goal. It's been your birthday. Thank you so much. And you can see, hey, here's a form. If you'd like to get a little token of our appreciation, please fill it out so that we can send you a little thank you gift. Not hard. Lastly, you have to promote this stuff. You can set it up. It can be passive, but you're always going to get more bang if you promote this thing. It is not true that if you build it, they will come. You actually have to make sure people are looking at it and reinforce that over and over again. This is an organization that I worked with last year, VH1 Save the Music Foundation. Let's look at all this, these screen grabs. So the upper left-hand image with the musicians is their homepage. So you can see in that sweet upper right-hand corner where the donate button always goes, they have a fundraise button. I want you to give or raise money for us. They're both equally important. And they've even given the fundraise button like that super sweet area. That's like where your eye goes and stops when you're first looking at something on a screen. That's why those donate buttons are in the upper right-hand corner. In the middle, that big screenshot is when I click fundraise, I get taken to just a very simple page on their website. Set up your fundraiser. Here's what you're going to do. And when I click set up my fundraiser, create a fundraiser, I go to Facebook, birthday fundraiser, start a campaign with this organization pre-selected. So there's no friction, right? I've said, yep, I want to do it. I've clicked the button and off I go. Customized tips. And then they've got a survey that people can fill out if they need help, if they get stuck. So these are the kinds of things that you need to put in place, really simple, for people to truly be able to raise money for you easily, not be frustrated and feel like they're doing what you want them to do. Before we get into Q&A, please, I hear this all the time. I'm not on Facebook, or we always had physical events and we're not really sure. Okay, if you're afraid, it's normal to feel weird and a little bit, you know, up in the throat if you're really counting on raising a lot of money in a new way because of the pandemic. But if you're worried that, you know, oh, if we ever started birthday fundraising on Facebook, there would be so many people, we would never be able to thank them all, so I don't even want to start. Okay, if that's your problem, is that 6 months after really putting some brain power and strategy and effort into this, if you are crushed by the amount of people starting to raise money on Facebook for you, I want you to contact me and we will come up with a solution. Don't let that be the reason that you refuse to start. If you worry that you don't know what you're doing, guess what? No one else does either. This is all new to most of us. We've got to be agile, and it is okay to make a mistake. It is really okay to go, there's no book on raising money on Facebook. There's no real, you know, course I can take on virtual peer-to-peer fundraising 201. Everybody's kind of making it up as they go, so be cool with that. And if you're struggling to set up something that's really sophisticated, like the Mona Lisa of peer-to-peer programs, stop. You're never going to have the time. It might be a wasted effort, especially if you're just starting. Don't let the perfect get in the way of the good. Just good enough is usually exactly right. Exactly right. Okay, Samantha, let's see where we're at. Awesome. Man, that was perfect timing. So I would love to answer some questions that people have posed. I've been seeing the chat box flashing, so hopefully we've got some questions to answer.
You have absolutely nailed that. And we do have a bunch of questions that have come in. The first one is from Anna, and she has asked, we had a few people raise money for us on Facebook last year, and we didn't even know until the money came in. Is there a way we can find out if someone has started one? Should we be getting notifications?
Well, I wish I could say, yeah, and all you have to do is this. But unfortunately, Facebook does not provide notifications when someone starts a birthday fundraiser. So you have to look. You've got to look inside your feed, because when somebody starts a birthday fundraiser, their post will show up on your organization's timeline. So it takes a human eye. If you were going to use a piece of middleware like that Give panel or another product that does the same thing or similar things, is called Good United, you could connect that to your Facebook account and that would give you the notification. But Facebook on its own does not. You have to monitor.
Good to know. I'm sure we'll all be monitoring our Facebooks a little bit closer now. We have 2 questions that have come in from Alana. So will donors get tax receipts for Facebook donations?
They do not get tax receipts. They get, well, it depends. So Canada, I know, has very different PDF receipting requirements than the US does. So I do not want to speak for Canada because I am not sure, but what I will do is do a little research, and Samantha, I'd be happy to get that back to you. In the US, you need very little actually to prove for a tax receipt. And so donors do have the ability to print, they get something, an autoresponder from Facebook that says that they have given, and someone could print that out.
Perfect. I will also grab you that, Ilana. I know I have some Canadian Facebook notification information somewhere in our Google Drive, so I'll pass it on to you after the webinar is over. Her second question is also, if P2P happens on Facebook, unendorsed by our organization, how do we get the money?
Well, the money eventually shows up, and this is, I hear this a lot, you know, like how do we control who raises money for us on Facebook? There might be a group or an individual that we really don't want to connect, or perhaps says they're raising money for us, but they're not actually. So you need to monitor for those things as well. You could certainly do a search for your organization's name just generally on Facebook and see what comes up. That's a quick way to find how your organization is mentioned. But you will eventually learn that someone is given, because Facebook doesn't charge processing fees, right? Somebody gives 25 bucks, you get 25 bucks. That money goes through the payment processor related to a company called Network for Good. That's the payment processing partner of Facebook. And so Network for Good collects the information, processes the transaction, hangs on to it, and then usually within 4 to 6 weeks, they'll give you a payout. So if they've got your banking information, they'll give you a deposit with some of that donor information, or they'll send you a check with some of that donor information.
Thanks, Maureen. We actually have a helpful tip from Emily. So in Canada, if you are verified as a registered charity, they will get tax receipts. So thank you, Emily.
Thank you, Emily.
The next question we have is from Peter. How does tax receipting work with Facebook fundraising? Yes, it's a very popular question.
Mm-hmm. So I think I just talked through that, Samantha. Do you want me to say any more on that?
I think you have answered it fairly thoroughly. The next question we have in is from Dana. What are the 3 best questions to ask in a survey? So that goes back a little bit. Okay,
so think about questions that you could ask that will allow you to customize or personalize the messages that you're sending to someone, right? So that's why I used animal organization, cat person, dog person. Zip code can be helpful if you don't have it, if you're interested in where people are in the world. That's a fairly benign question to ask somebody, especially if they're a new supporter. And depending on your mission, you may want to sort of probe a little bit as to how they found out about you or what their connection is to you. So if you are a cause and cure organization, you're raising money to help research for children's cancer, for example. You may want to know, do you or a loved one, have you struggled with childhood cancer? Are you a caregiver? Are you a medical provider? And that's going to let you start to segment those people and maybe send a special type of autoresponder to people who opt in, or a follow-up note if you know a little bit about them. It might let you customize the header image in an e-newsletter or an appeal or a birthday fundraising reminder. If you know I'm a dog person and not a cat person, you might want to make sure that the marketing that I get has pictures of dogs in it. That's being seen and recognized. They know that I'm a dog person. Excellent. And they're going to send me dog information. That begins to strengthen the relationship between the virtual fundraiser and your organization. And that's true stewardship, is providing personalized content when you can.
And just so everybody knows, you can send me dog content at any time of the day and I will be a happy recipient.
See, do you see?
It works. So we have a great question coming in from Ali. Where do applications like GoFundMe fall into this conversation?
Yeah, They're a little bit more like Facebook than a peer-to-peer program that is on an application that your organization pays for, right? So if your fundraising system lets you do peer-to-peer fundraising, that's all you, and you get to decide what data you collect and how you use it. GoFundMe is like this little, it's more like Facebook than like a platform that you own. If you're registered on there, you can go in and get reports in ways that Facebook will not let you. So you can get a little bit more data, but the stewardship tips that I'm sharing here would work really well in a crowdfunding application like GoFundMe.
Thank you. Just a side note from Mike, which is very important. We allow participants to attend outdoor events with their dogs. It's a nice way to connect.
We could have a whole dog donor experience week, Samantha, I think, right?
That's 2021. Look out for it.
All
I'm
right.
excited already.
Okay.
We have another question from Dana that's come in. Are there branding concerns with P2P fundraising if other people go for it without consulting the organization first?
There can be. I've seen really horribly distorted logos, for example, that someone has pulled off your website and used on their Facebook page. So that's why it's a really good idea to give people a couple of images for them to just grab and use. That way, you know, if you've got requirements about how your logo is used, you're giving them a version that they don't need to mess around with, that will fit on social media, for example, or that they can send out by email if they're going outside of a peer-to-peer space to notify folks to give.
One of the best peer-to-peer fundraising kits I ever received came from, I think it was the BCSPCA, but when you sign up to fundraise for them, they sent you an entire branding and style guide about the language they use, imagery, their brand colors with the color codes, so you could really tailor that to their branding. And so then I don't know, I felt like I was really involved with that. I thought that was a great idea.
Yeah, I love that idea. I would be, so you didn't feel overwhelmed, like now they're going to give me all these rules about what I can and can't post. You felt actually supported, like, yes, you gave me things that I can do this right on your behalf. Yeah.
I felt so, but I'm also a marketing nerd.
Yeah, well, that's it. So you have a slightly different frame. You and I are like, ooh, let's take a look at that, you know, and we really want to see what people are using. Giving them something, though, is always better than giving them nothing at all. So you might want to whip up a little page on your website, send people to it. It's your social media fundraiser toolkit, couple of images, couple of ideas for posts that they can make.
We have one last question, and I know it's a bit of a reiteration, but I think people are just a little bit confused.
Sure.
Would only the fundraiser get the tax receipt, right? Not the donors themselves. So I think there's still a bit of miscommunication about tax receipting with P2P.
So there are three entities here in this peer-to-peer relationship, right? The organization, the fundraiser, who is simply asking for money, and then the donors, the people who hear that, ask, and then give. So the organization, if it's Facebook, the organization can choose if they get enough information about the donor, because the donor decides whether their info is shared with the organization or not. So you've got the organization, you've got the fundraiser, and you've got the donor. Unless the fundraiser has made a gift, they shouldn't get a receipt. They're going to get a notification. So I might get a notification that says, Samantha just made a $50 donation to your birthday fundraising campaign. And go, yeah, Sam, thank you so much. The organization can get that data if Samantha has chosen to share it. And then the org can send out a donor thank you directly to Samantha if they want. But the Facebook Network for Good is the thing that actually collects that payment on behalf of the organization. So the donor gets a little receipt at the time of the gift. That's very generic. It doesn't come from your org. It comes from Facebook land and Network for Good land. So, you know, this question, I think, I get why it's confusing. And so one thing that maybe I'll do, Samantha, and I don't have this yet, but I can make just like a little flow chart with like those entities and kind of what happens for each of them. What I tell you, if you don't know what happens, go make a little tiny gift on Facebook, right? Go make a $5 gift on Facebook to your organization and see what happens. Or give to a birthday fundraiser that someone's running for your organization, $5. Get your org to reimburse you if you want, and see what that experience is. You don't need to feel like it's hidden from you. You can participate in it and see what people are seeing and what's happening, and then make good decisions about what you want to do based on the experience that you've just had.
And that's a great little piece of advice, and I think the perfect way to end off this session,
Right.
unless anyone else has any other questions.
Let's see. I'll just give you a little bit of my contact info at the end here. And Samantha and Inez and everybody who's watching, I love these kinds of events. You guys put on the best thought leadership out there. And it's just really always a joy and a pleasure to come and present. You've got great folks who register, and I really appreciate it.
And we're always very, very, very happy to have you here. We love working with you, Maureen. I'll let everybody take down your contact information, and then I will pop my last slide up. There will be a 3-question survey at the end of this presentation, and we would love it if you could share your thoughts about the session, as your feedback helps us shape future conferences. And Maureen, I'm sure would love to hear what you thought as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So do I stop my share? There we go. You got it.
I did it.
Excellent.
All right. So I just want to remind everyone as well that our next session will be in 1 hour, led by Ryan from Donor Search, and he'll be diving into major gifts. And this is a US-based session. If you're looking for a Canadian one, it will be on Friday morning at 9 a.m. PST. If you haven't already signed up, you can do so in our speaker schedule page, which Ines is posting in the chat now. And that is it from us. That has, I guess, finished off our session 1 of Donor Experience Week. How exciting. We hope to see you at more of our sessions this week. And Maureen, do you have anything else that you'd like to say?
Just thanks, and everybody have a great week. And I will see you in some future sessions, because there's a couple that I want to sit in on too this week. So I am sure I will see you soon.
All right. Well, have a great day, everyone, and see you soon.
Bye, folks.